We have Chef Ehren Ryan on the podcast today. We talked about his world travels, his journey as a chef, and we got into the nitty-gritty, the nerdy stuff of being a chef, how he develops menus, how he created the restaurant Common Lot, and now the hottest, newest restaurant in Hoboken, The Bird. Let's get into it.
You know where you are!
This is the Outliers Podcast. Let's go! So you grew up in Australia? Like you were born in Australia?
Born in Australia.
Yeah.
My parents were diplomats, so we moved to like the Philippines, Hong Kong, and India.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then I did high school all in Sydney. Did my apprenticeship cooking in Sydney, and then moved to Canada. I was there for like a season. I don't put that on my CV because that was just disgusting.
It was a time you want to forget.
I don't remember it, so I remember snowboarding in the mornings.
Yeah.
If I wasn't so hungover.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it was a blur. And then I moved to Europe, and then I was there for like 7, maybe 8 years or so, and then moved back 6 years. I can't remember. There's a 6 or 7 years, I think, and then moved back to Australia with my now wife, and then from there we moved here.
Were you always in the food industry? Were you always cooking? When was like the first time you started cooking?
My first job was McDonald's.
No way.
In Australia, yeah. Because back then it was actually a legit job. Like it was.
Yeah, it was like when Chipotle first started.
Yeah, like they trained you well. They trained you discipline. They trained you, in that aspect. It was actually it was a good job. And all the kids had it. So basically, like, it was a job to get the shittest pay. Like, I remember just getting nothing, but it was good at 14. But it was really just a massive, like, dating club.
No way.
Yeah, because it was just like because everyone was it was all just high school students. And then you had managers who were like 20. And it was when you look back, I'm like, dude, it was disgusting. Like, you never saw the owners. You only saw the managers who were like 20s. And the rest of them were all 14 to 18-year-olds.
I feel like definitely not the age bracket, but I feel like all restaurants are kind of like that, though, right? Like it becomes because the life cycle of that is like you're just there and it's your own little bubble, it's your world that you're not really experiencing anything else outside of that restaurant. Yeah, like I remember working at the restaurants I was working at before. Bagel, it was the same situation. It was like, who's the cute new hostess, the waitresses, all of that. And it was like that synergy. Like, then the line cooks were trying to date the bartender and all of that energy. Yeah. And then after McDonald's, did you start, like, when did you were like, all right, I'm going to stick to this food industry? Or were you just always just being like, trying to just go to the next job?
I was at McDonald's for a couple of years. And then I was like maybe 17. And I got a job at a bar illegally. Because he never asked. And then I was, what the fuck? Oh yeah, I got fired from that one because I was pouring full shots. And so we were making Long Island iced teas. The only two drinks I could make, margaritas and Long Island iced teas. And I didn't know the difference between the two sides because I never got any training. So it was just like pouring 5 full shots into a glass and going with Coke, getting tips, fucking people loving me. Yeah. And then he did the inventory about 2 months later, and he was like, "Holy shit, how much are we going through?" And all this. I'm like, I had to show him what I was making. Yeah, I didn't get any more shit.
Yeah, I was like, this dude is literally pouring like half the glass of alcohol.
It was 3/4 of the glass. It was the set. I was like, oh shit, okay. But yeah, I was never planning to be. I wanted to get into hospitality, not into cooking, but into hotel management.
Okay.
I always knew I wanted to travel.
I mean, you grew up traveling, right? Yeah. So it was like almost second nature to you.
Yeah. And
you felt comfort in that.
And I knew hotel management, like in the hospitality, there will always be jobs and there will always be the opportunity to travel and move. But then I realized how boring and fucking terrible hotel management.
Oh, dude, I couldn't even imagine.
I was like, this is not for me. And then I had one class in high school and I was like, I get to play with knives. There was fire, swearing. The teacher was swearing. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah,
this is exactly what I want.
And then, so what was the first job in the kitchen?
Aria. in
Okay.
Sydney. So one of the best restaurants in Sydney.
Yeah, that's with who you apprentice for, no?
Yeah, Matt Moran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just built under him because he has like I was looking into it. He has like 15 restaurants in Australia.
He's huge now.
He's like a restaurant empire.
Yeah, when I started, he had
Jen, can you get straws, please?
one restaurant, 2 restaurants, and he had just been bought by Solomon. So Bruce Solomon, which is now like the Solomon Group, which is he's part of.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What do you mean by bought?
they kind of bought into it. He was always when I was that age, I didn't really understand what Bruce Solomon was, but he was basically the silent investor.
Okay.
And then he was his own little empire, like privately.
Yeah.
And then basically drew Matt Moran into it, and that's kind
And
of.
then kind of like it's almost like a musician, right?
Oh,
like
he's
as an artist.
huge. He's massive now. But yeah, he's got. I don't know how many restaurants he's got.
Dude, he has one in the Opera House.
Oh yeah, I worked there.
No way.
For like a week just to help out. It was actually surprising. It was the restaurant was not busy.
Mm-hmm.
It was busy for lunch, and then dinner time was dead because everyone was there to drink.
No way.
There was no food going out, so I'd literally sit down for like 3 hours doing nothing. Maybe serve some fries.
No way.
For like a week. I think.
So when you were doing like what does the apprenticeship mean? So were you with him for a really long time or?
2 years.
Okay.
Maybe 2 years. Yeah. 2 years, and then my brother passed away from leukemia, and I couldn't hack that stress level.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, oh, I've got to, I'll go to something a little bit more slow paced.
Yeah. Not as much high pressure and all that.
Yeah.
And then, was he your older or younger brother?
Younger. So he was 18.
And how old were you?
20.
Oh wow, man! I'm sorry to hear that. It must have been really tough.
Yeah, it was. We were close, but it was, it was fast. I think it was like a year from the date that he was diagnosed to his death. So it was just we tried everything, and then by the end of it, he was like, "I'm done. I don't need to do anything else. I've tried everything." So yeah, and that was it. But yeah, I couldn't deal with that level of restaurant at that time. So
Yeah.
I went down a few notches and just hung out at some place where it was like a beach cafe and hung out there. And then I got the drive back to kind of get back into fine dining and worked in some really small restaurant, like it was called Alchemy. And it was literally me and the head chef, the 2 head chefs. That's it.
No way.
Kitchen. It was fucking brutal. It was.
I bet.
It was like you couldn't get away with anything. It was the first time I actually ever had to relabel the entire fridge because I didn't cut the tape edges off.
No way.
Yeah, so it was good. I learned discipline.
But that's sometimes when you look back on those stages, it's like almost like it sucks in that moment, but then you realize like where the bar really should always be.
Yeah, and that's what I've learned from it was it was literally. It was literally a learning curve of how to do things, with precision and with love and all this kind of stuff. And we used to use secondary cuts and create, what would be essentially a 1-star quality food. So it was always, because our budget was like next to nothing. I think the kitchen was no bigger than, maybe a little bit smaller than this room.
Get the fuck out of here.
It was like 3 chefs, and then it was about it. It was, and it was every Saturday before we have Sunday, Monday off. It was a deep clean, so it was like polishing the tiles behind the splash, and it was a good 3-hour clean. I was like, yeah.
How did you get your drive back during that like tumultuous like period of your life? Like where you said I got my drive back. Was there anything in particular like?
I got bored. I think I just got bored. And I didn't like the way the kitchen was run, and I didn't like the standards that they had set. I was basically at Aria, I think it was instilled in me that, this is the standards that we set. And I liked that, and I enjoyed that. I liked the discipline, and I liked the... I guess the pressure of the high-end restaurants. I thought that was quite good because it was, like I was looking at I would get to work at about 7:30, 8, basically 8 in the morning, and then I wouldn't leave until 1, and then I'd be like 45-minute drive home. But I enjoyed that kind of point. I get my ass kicked every day. And then when my brother passed, I went to some restaurant. It was nice, but it wasn't. I was there just to kind of regroup and resettle, and the pay was fine for back then. And then it was interesting from a I think it was about maybe 4 months, 5 months into it. I was like, this is shit. Like this is not where I want to be. So. Because my parents have always been like, you can do whatever you want with your life as long as you either work at the best place, or you can flip burgers, for the rest of your lives. But as long as you create the best burger, that was always instilled in me. So that was what I kind of imagined what I was going to do with fine dining, and that's what kind of drove me into going back into it, into the fine dining and the pressure, and it was good.
What do you think the difference is like between? Obviously, there's like the fast food restaurants, and then you have like the mom and pops, and then you have like that mid-tier restaurant. What do you think really separates the best of the best to like that town restaurant? You know what I'm trying to say? Like I'm detail.
Yeah.
In what way?
So I think detail. I would probably say you have to, as an owner now, you have to know as much as you can. I'm fortunate that my wife works with me in the business, so she kind of runs the front. There's shit that I don't know, like resi. No, don't make a booking because I don't know how to do it. Pay bills. I know how to pay bills, but she does it. But realistically, it's knowing the ins and outs of it. An organization. I think organization's the big one as well. If you can organize yourself in the cool room, in the kitchen, and it's clean and tidy, automatically the food will be presented better. It will taste better. Because there's a standard, and the detail underneath it, i.e. The correct ordering, the right amount of inventory, the right personnel, all this will coincide with building a better restaurant and a better standard no matter what. You can be the best, it can be the best burger place, and if there's not enough detail, like I don't have enough onions, there's not, we're using, shitty meat, for example.
The buns are stale.
Yeah, all that is detail.
Yeah.
And with our new restaurant, we did burger tasting, and some of the reps wanted to know my opinion. So like, okay, you want it? And they're like, yeah. And like, truthfully, I'm like, yep. Like, you're not gonna get hurt? And like, oh yeah. I'm like, they're shit. They taste like cafeteria burgers. They're borderline, if I was on an airline, that would taste better. I just said, I don't know how old these things are, but like they were crap. I said they taste plastically, so they've either been in your freezer and you've just pulled them out or whatever, but they're just not a good product. And I said, we did 3 different providers, 3 different suppliers that we had, and Pat Lafrida was the best one by far.
He really is the best, huh?
So I was just there like. So I said, that's not going to happen. And they like asked me for steak, and I said, look, you're going up against an actual, that's all they do. I think whereas some suppliers now are like spreading out, and then trying to incorporate everything. They just focus on what they're really good at, and it shows. So that's the level of detail that we go to. Just tasting. Like what's the best quality? What's the best product?
Do you do that with all of your products too, of produce, everything?
We have different suppliers for everyone. I have 2 fish suppliers for both restaurants that I've used from day one at Common Lot, and I trust their judgment. And then other providers that come in and tried to kind of sell their stuff, but it's really hard because we've created such a relationship with them that I'm not gonna break that.
Yes.
Like I have 2, they know there's 2. They're not fighting against each other.
Yeah.
I know what stuff they're good at, and I know what stuff the other guys are good at. So realistically, it's easy in that sense. But yeah, we test dishes, and I hold them accountable. If their product falls, then in standards, and I'll call them out. Mm-hmm. I have no problem ringing them.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, or sending everything back.
Yeah.
The other day, the meat guy was late. It was like 5 o'clock, and I said, "What's the point?" I said, "What's the point in this?" I said, and I rang my rep, and I said, "If they ever deliver at 5 o'clock again, I'll find someone else." I said, "This is bullshit." I said, "You've just wasted an entire day for us." Because now it's 10 o'clock the next morning before I can even start prepping this shit. I said, in that aspect, it comes down to the detail. We basically mention to our providers that this is where we want deliveries. This is the time we have someone in. If it's not brought in at that time, we'll find someone else. You know what I mean? And we hold them accountable. And that's just the way it is.
I think it's hard to find that. I think it's hard to find. Because you don't want to ever cook. For me, I'm always like mindful of trying not to be a dickhead, but like the only way to get shit done sometimes is just being super assertive.
Yeah.
Right? Because if not, no one's going to take you seriously.
When I was my first head chef role, I was a dick.
Yeah.
I admit that, and I probably wasn't the best.
Because that was like the old school chef mentality, though, no?
Yeah, it was.
Like that's like.
Like I had just come off Europe working for like 2-3 star Michelin chefs. I was physically and mentally and verbally abused a day in and day out. And I tried to be, I was young-ish, late 20s, and I was like, okay, I can, this is what I want to do, set it, get my name out there. And I was a dick. Like there was times there I was yelling at the suppliers. I'm like, I look back now, I'm like, oh, that's not the way to deal with it.
Yeah, you feel uncomfortable thinking about it.
Yeah. But then these days, there's also no, I will ring them, and I'm much more sarcastic when I come across them. So because it's just the way I am.
Yeah.
I've noticed Americans don't get a lot of sarcasm. So
I feel like Jersey they do though.
Yeah, some of my reps don't because they're just. I'm like, oh, you just didn't pick on that sarcasm. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, well, this is.
Me explaining.
I'll go the other way. This shit is crap.
Yeah.
So it is. There's not often I'll lose my shit at them, but if they constantly produce crap stuff, then yeah, I lose it. But then they kind of they're quick to adjust, and they'll generally either hand deliver straight up after as well.
What do you think the difference is between because you said you worked on a 2-star and a 3-star Michelin?
Yeah.
Is there really a significant difference between the two, or is it kind of like who's rating it? Do you believe in the Michelin guide?
I do. There are parts of me where I look now at the places in the States where they've bought. Mm-hmm. It's a pay to pay scheme.
Yeah, pay to play for sure.
And there is part of me where I disagree with that. Mm-hmm. I think if Michelin wants to do it, they'll just come out and just do it.
Yeah.
But there's not much difference between a 2 and a 3-star. It's just it's the level of investment is basically what it is. At a 3-star level, the investment needed is huge. So there was a restaurant in the UK, Linktree, that they invested, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of pounds, even millions of pounds into new plateware, new crockery, new styled equipment, new furniture, everything. And they finally got their 3rd star. It's 20 years that they've been sitting at 2 stars, in a sense. So, yeah, there's not that much difference. It's just the level of investment, realistically. And the food, for some chefs, it's the maturity. As they mature, they get less complicated. But realistically, there's not that much difference. You still get your ass kicked in the kitchen.
Yeah, I bet.
No matter what.
And then how about let's bring it back to common law. The fact that common law, you were in Australia, you were traveling all over the world. How the fuck did you end up in Chatham, New Jersey?
Mum and Dad, my parents have been here since for about probably coming up to 20 years now.
Oh wow, in Jersey?
Yeah, in Jersey. So we've been visiting, maybe 15 years. So we've been visiting back and forth a lot. And Australia started to get too expensive. Mm-hmm. When Nadine and I were looking at opening our own restaurant, we were just like, oof, this is too expensive.
Especially to do it by the level you wanted to do it at.
Yeah, Common Lot was never aimed to be fine dining.
Really?
Well, it was our version of casual fine dining. So I guess what we were kind of chatting with them one day, and we just said, look, we're looking at opening our own place. It was a discussion that we had with them, and then obviously Nadine's from Austria, so it was like there's a travel thing as well. Like Australia is like 26 plus hours to get here, so quick visits gonna really work. And then this seemed like the most logical place for my style of cuisine to open, and it was in New Jersey. New York, admittedly, was just too expensive.
It's the same thing as Australia.
Yeah, it was just too expensive, too risky. There was more of a long-term goal in Jersey. We just figured that the area that we were in could really use something like us, and was sorely missed because most of the people in that area commute anyway to New York.
Yeah.
So it was one of those discussions we had with them, and then 2 years passed, and we finally opened. So it was like a two-year process
to open the restaurant.
Yeah, it was about a year of building and a year of organizing.
Have you always been patient like that? Because I feel like Bird took a long time too. No, relatively.
Yeah, Bird was relatively longer than we expected. So we started looking at Bird in August last year. We signed the lease in December
of last year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not too bad, actually.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But considering there was an existing restaurant, and all we did was take out the large bar.
Yeah. I don't know why. I think it was just like long overdue for you guys to come into town. It seemed that way. And that's also why I wanted to meet you, because I just know that I think what you're doing, from outside looking in, I haven't even experienced Bird yet. You're going to crush, man. For real.
Good. Thank you. Yeah.
For real. Like, I think Hoboken's missing that aggressively.
It's, as people have told me, it's a doomed space and it's cursed.
Nah.
You'll never make it. I was like, okay, whatever.
People been saying that?
Yeah. Oh,
before?
People said that at Common Lot. And I constantly remind them every year as I tag them in my posts, like, yeah, we're still here.
Hell yeah, dude.
So like, I'm a bitch when it comes to that.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, like, oh, whatever.
Because I'm the type of person that, like, I don't really listen to... I appreciate the compliments.
Yeah.
But I definitely absorb, like, some negative comments. And it makes me... And it fuels me.
If it's constructive, definitely. Like, a lot of people are saying, yeah, it's really noisy in there. We're like, okay, we put soundproofing in. We've realized now it's not enough. Like, there's 20 panels in that restaurant.
Bird right now?
And we're like, shit, we need more. So we've ordered another 20. We're mixing it up with pillar kind of ones as well. So it's we're listening to constructive criticism.
Of course, that's totally different.
And then when people are like, oh, it should just be a pizza place, and I was like, said, you want to open a 4,500 square foot pizza place? Go ahead. You know what I mean? I said, this place hasn't been updated since Tilted Killed, when it was first originally there. So yeah, it's good. We're slowly next week. Yeah, next week we open 7 days.
Nice, man.
Monday to Sunday.
How's it been, man? Just doing, like, it seems is it a completely, just to open up another restaurant on your already existing one, is it just a whirlwind, or how are you feeling right now?
Tired.
Yeah.
But that doesn't help with, like, two young kids, so 6 and 3. And they're up at, so most mornings they're up for 5:30. They're like seagulls. They just want to be fed all the time.
Yeah.
So like 5:30, they'll squabble in your face, like, feed me. And you're like, dude, it's 5:30. Like, go back to sleep or something.
Boy, girl, girls.
Boy and a girl.
Awesome, same.
So yeah, it's fun, but Bird's been great. Considering it was an existing restaurant, it did take longer than we hoped for.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to open before summer, like end of April, May. So we're about 6 weeks behind what we wanted, probably a little bit more. So it was because we know that most people in summer like vacate over the weekend. So we'll see how busy our weekends are. But during the week, so far it's been busy. But it's been a learning curve. Like this time around. Mainly just from obviously this one's got a liquor license and so it's understanding the law and it's understanding everything that comes with it. The landlord's been pretty decent. The condo itself's been pretty decent. We got a stop work order within the first 2 weeks of opening of construction.
Why is that?
I think there was just a miscommunication. One person at the township told us that we were approved and whatever, and so we started demoing, and then apparently we weren't, so they came in and slapped us with a stop work order, so that held us back a couple of weeks.
It's always a pain in the ass with construction and all of that, though, with permits.
Yeah.
When you going into opening up Bird, how did you prepare to open up Bird? Like, at what particular time did you feel like you were ready to open up that restaurant?
Yeah, whenever it was ready. Basically, that was the thing. It was like, as soon as we got the CO, it was like, we had preempted opening. So we kind of were constant talk with our construction guys, saying like, what's the process? When are we looking to get the CO? Mm-hmm. So we kind of knew we were about 2 weeks out, and that's when we were that's when we were on hiring. We had picked our management already, so we had kind of brought them on earlier. And that was just a cost that we knew we were going to endure.
Yeah.
And everything else was as soon as we kind of worked out, 2 weeks from now, that's when the CEO is going to be given to us.
How did you go about finding that team? Because finding team is like probably the most important component of your restaurant.
So Bird, I was much more fortunate. Bird, my head chef at Bird, Jay, he actually worked with me at Common Lot for a couple of years when we first opened Common Lot. Yeah. So, and then he'd gone round and he'd worked in LA and New Jersey again. So I kind of just, he reached out to me and said, I want to get back into the industry. Mm-hmm. I see you're looking for a CDC. I'm like, great. I know his work ethic, his business mindset, his maturity, all this kind of shit. So I was there like, great, done. And then our general manager, Vanessa, it was actually put through, she was recommended by a couple of wine...
sommeliers?
No, more like some, what are they called? Suppliers. Yeah. Who we've done numerous events for at Common Lot. Mm-hmm. And so that's what started, they introduced us and it was kind of like she has a young family. She's, got a great list, listens to us, super organized, and it was just that clicked straight away. So it was one of those ones where like, we're fortunate. We got our general manager, got our head chef. Then she recommended our manager, restaurant manager, Chris. They've worked together. So we brought him on, and then that was kind of it. And then the sous chefs we met at the open house that we had. So we had an open house, then we were 2 weeks out or something like that, and we had an open house. And we kind of hired.
When you are looking for a chef, what's like the interview process like? Do you go about? Are you like, let's say if you didn't know your head chef, is there like an interview? Let's say if I'm like opening up a restaurant right now, I need a new chef. What should be the interview process for that? Because it's hard, right? Because like, who cares about how you answer questions? But like, are you asking particular questions to know what their skill set is, and then do you go through like a tasting? Like, what's your what do you think your thought process is on that?
So when we opened Common Lot, I knew no one in the state.
Yes,
absolutely no one. So it was literally blind trust. Mm-hmm. That's a hard question for me to answer because I am the chef. Yes, and Madine runs the front no matter what. So in that aspect, we are already industry. So you can kind of just tell. The way that they act, the way that they kind of present themselves. But if I was a restaurateur who had no actual experience in a restaurant industry and you're opening a restaurant, that's dumb. Yeah. Don't. But if you're adamant about doing it and you need to hire someone, I would. A tasting would be probably preferable. Mm-hmm. I think if I was going to do it, there's no.
Even finding a chef de cuisine, though, right? Like, obviously, you're the head chef, but, like, how do you know if that guy, like, he can talk the talk, but, like, his work ethic or his because you just are just trusting your own skills that you can teach him as long as he understands?
For me, it would be a blind trust. I am trusting of people. Mm-hmm. until they burn bridges and whatever else. But realistically, I would get them to do a tasting. I want to see where they're at. I want to see what their skills are. The dean will stalk them on Instagram.
Yeah.
In that aspect to see what if they post any food pics, CVs. But realistically, like the whole, I'll give you an hour to come up with 2 dishes. That's bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, there's some of the dishes that I do, it takes 2-3 days to do. So realistically, what I'm going to give you a piece of steak or a piece of fish.
Yeah, and some herbs and more. Like you make a chimichurri.
Yeah,
like, good job.
Like So in that sense, it is blind faith.
Yeah.
You have to kind of hope that that's a good fit. But I think our number one rule at both restaurants is the person has to fit the team. They may have the best experience. Their CV might be absolutely stunning, like holy shit, like damn, like really really good. But if they're an arrogant, egotistic prick, not going to even talk to them.
Yeah.
Like we've had numerous people like that in Common Lot. Try to overtalk me, and I was just like, okay, we're done. Thank you very much. Like, oh, you want me to try? I'm like, nah, not necessary. I said, so at Common Lot, the number one goal is to protect the team. The team, we pick chefs and servers and whatever else that suit the team environment and the personnel and the attitudes of everyone, rather than picking people who are very good at their fucking job and very good at what they do. But if they got ego, or if they're just not team players, or they don't get along, we just don't hire them. And we are very good at picking that from the get-go. You know what I mean? So we, even at Bird, we are the same. We are, now it's a bit different, but we've weeded out a couple of people that we're like, you're not going to work. So we've had to let them go, and because they just didn't fit the team culture.
Yeah, it's like a sport, right? At the end of the day, it's like...
And at Bird, no one's worked with each other. But you
could still feel the mucus and the energy within the room.
Now, 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, there is they've got such a little gel. They've gelled with each other really well. So they know how to act around each other. They're not too loud. They're not too quiet. They're just the right amount of like get the work done. Joke around, enjoy each other, etc., etc. But yeah, that's our number one goal, is to make sure that the team is protected rather than individuals.
When you make your menu, especially let's say Bird, for example, right before you didn't serve one customer. What was your developing the menu process? How did that come about?
So we knew Bird was going to be. Everyone's going to dictate it off Common Lot. It was like, this is another Common Lot, etc., etc. So we knew that we had to kind of put in some of our favorite dishes, I guess, or well-known dishes. We knew that our menu, if we were opening towards summer, was going to be more Asian influence because it's lighter, fresher, in terms of less heavy, like no creams, no butter. And then if we were going to open in winter, it was going to be more European in a sense, so a little bit more dairy, a little bit more creams. If it's from the Southeast Asian side of it, more curries, etc. So it was. We kind of based it off what the season we're opening, and then we build from that. So we knew that carrots, the timeline that we're looking at, we had carrots in there. We had kind of seasonal stuff. But we knew that in the warmer months, we just needed to be light and fresh, so Southeast Asian.
You go by seasonal what's in season along with the cuisine? Do you like to try and kind of be around a certain region?
So we'll try and change the menu about 4 times a year, probably.
Yeah, and you like to have a larger percentage of your menu focus on a region?
Not really. Like we always try to be kind of like everything, but ultimately it ends up that way because that's just the way that the cooking is. So we in the summer months it's all about like Thai basil, mint, refreshing kind of herbs, fish sauce and lime and whatever else. You get that salty kind of
umami flavor profiles too.
And then you get a little bit of chili for that heat, but it's not like too much. But you get the cooling herbs. And then in the winter months, it's more like, okay, people are wanting richer dishes, warming. So that's where we'll change the vegetables. And even in the fall, we'll change vegetables. So, like, we may stay with Southeast Asia, but we might do, like, pumpkin or sweet, squash or something with like...
Brussels, all those, like, fall vegetables.
Yeah, we might do it with, like, so Brussels with XO sauce because it's kind of got, like, a warming kind of feel to it. Or we might do it, like, with vegetables with, like, a peanut satay. So rich, kind of peanut kind of satay, but it's still kind of Southeast Asian. So it's much more texturally as well.
Do you go from, like, one specific... Because sometimes when I'm... Like, right now we're working on, like, a new concept as well, and I sometimes just look at, like, the appetizers, and I'm like, oh, let me make one of this particular dish. And just... Do you go off of, like, hey, I'm really inspired by a mushroom, and then you just go? Or is there, a starting point, and then you evolve from there, or no?
So how I start is that I'll write out vegetables, like a list of seasonal stuff.
Okay.
And I'll go, right, these are all the vegetables that we can use. And then protein will be what I can afford.
Yeah.
So, foie, probably not one of them. Turbot, definitely not one of them. Lobster, depends on the price. And the lobster will generally be like a special because it fluctuates too much and you can't get a set price. So most of the fish that we get in is sustainable and almost set in its price. So there is no massive fluctuations. And then we'll build from that. So, so we might end up going, right, so in spring, summer, by June is going to be like tomatoes are coming in and whatever else and all the summer veg. So you're like, okay, well, let's start to get that. How are we going to work that out? So that's where we start. So salmon, sashimi, we've got kind of cucumbers and whatever else in there. And then that's how we build our menu is basically write what we want to use what's in season, and then we kind of like come up with ideas from that.
Do you try to make sure that you're cross-utilizing certain ingredients to help out? Yeah, to help out with your food costs, right?
100%.
So you're not getting just... Is there a lot of items on your menu that... Do you try to make sure that one particular product is being used at least twice on your menu?
Yes. In a sense, in some ways, yes. So like our pickles at Bird, we freshly slice the Persian pickles and whatever else, and then the rest of them get pickled for pickles for the burger.
Yes.
So, even though I hate pickles,
really,
I find them useless. They bring no value to any burger.
How about like pickled veg? You don't like pickled veg, like pickled onions?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't like
pickles. Yeah, it's fair. Okay.
There are some other the stuff that I don't like. Oysters.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. Yeah, I'll do it, but
I'll put it on, but no, we will try to cross utilize as much as we can. It just makes sense. So like we have a herb sauce that we use on the fish, and it is literally just every soft herb in there blended, and then we adjust the seasoning, so we're not wasting.
Yeah. So if those are slightly getting bruised a little bit,
in the blender.
Boom. Yeah.
Shit out of it.
They have great flavor still, but they don't look the best. So it's just like let's still be able to use it.
So like with with our veg at Bird at the moment, we have a dish where it's with char, and it's like this salsa verde that we kind of throw through, and it's all like the green vegetables and some potatoes, and then those green vegetables as well get used in another dish, the spring salad, more like summer salad now, but like they'll get utilized in that. So you've got cooked versions, and you've got like a raw version in the salad with like a green goddess, again, kind of using different flavor profiles, but you're hard pressed to kind of know the difference. But that's a must. If you can make it almost invisible to people, they're not going to know.
Yes.
It's not like I have. It's not like I'm using the same, like fennel, for example. That's really, really strong and noticeably a strong kind of vegetable or fruit, whatever it is, vegetable. I probably won't use that in multiple dishes because it's super. Yeah. It's a standout kind of vegetable, but I would use stuff like
maybe the prawns on top. You would use maybe.
Oh, I'll use like peas or green beans or this kind of stuff that's a bit more like under the radar, where you can kind of mix it into other dishes and people won't know.
Yeah.
But like, strong ones, like strong vegetables, I probably would only put it on one dish. And even that I'd consider not putting it on.
When you're creating the menu, are you thinking about operations like immediately, or you just go creatively and be like, go out of the box, create the menu, and then figure out, like, all right, how am I going to fucking prep all this? Like,
so Common
how am I
Lot,
going to serve it? You know,
Common Lot has been a great asset because our cook space is next to nothing. So our cooking surface is...
how big's your hood?
Our whole cooking area is probably not much bigger than the table.
What? So you have like a 6-foot hood?
Yeah, if that.
Wow.
It's a big hood, but we have a French top. This is actually probably needs to be narrower.
Yeah.
But we have a French top and a plancha, and then a charcoal grill. That's it.
Wow.
And an oven.
So you have like the same as like a deli,
Yeah.
you know? And I'm saying that in a respectable way.
Yeah.
Like,
So
it's not like-
we don't have a lot of. There's not like burners after like Bird restaurant. There's that kitchen leaves Common Lot for dead. You can probably fit 3.
which is actually probably better off that you started with Common Lot than Bird.
Yeah.
Because you would have been too spoiled with Bird, and then it makes you more hyper-focused,
Well,
right?
a lot of the kitchens that I've worked in Europe, they're small. Like, you know, there's only been a couple where I'm like, holy shit, this is massive.
Yeah.
But a lot of them have been small, and again, that comes obviously down to the detail and stuff, so how organized you can be. And then that's what makes us super organized and detailed with our menus at Common Lot, is that, okay, we only have a small cook surface. How can we create a good sauce, and then how can we create the vegetables to go around it? It's round dishes. So, you know, we make our menus based on what we're able to do in that size.
Do you think about food cost? And then when do you start thinking about food cost? After?
Yeah, there's a lot of times I'm like, oh, this dish is great. And
Yeah.
worked it out, I'm like, this dish sucks. I'm not enjoying this at all.
What percent do you like to stay around?
Under 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why'd you laugh? Because certain dishes are just like crazy?
It is, you have to be able to, not every dish is going to be under 30.
Yes.
Unless you're charging an astronomical amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to balance it out. So some dishes are less, some dishes are, sit higher. But overall, at the end of the month, most of the stuff is under 30. It has to be these days.
Yeah.
And that is, we're using still very high-end product, but we are, we're just smart with it. So our most expensive thing at Bird is our 14-ounce. Yeah, 14-ounce. One of those ones. Ounces. I don't know ounces.
Yeah.
14-ounce dry age.
Yeah, you go off a different system.
Yeah. And then that comes in at like almost 35%.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
I have to say under $50 because that's just, it feels right. But, it's one of those ones I'm like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
no matter how much I beg my guy, you got a better price, or I'll buy more.
But that's where you kind of manipulate your menu, that some of your other options on your menu, like the apps or the sides, could be 25, 20%.
Yeah.
So you make sure that you can, do that.
And then that's what you use with, the use of vegetables. Like, potato, if you use it in one dish, you technically can pay it off in another dish. So realistically, you're fine. So that's what pulls down those costs.
How about, what have you experienced opening up Bird that you didn't expect? You could tell yourself, in December, is there any advice you would have given yourself, even just in December? Or you're still so early on?
I think it's too early.
Yeah.
I think we haven't kind of
get in the weeds of everything.
We went in. It took us 2 weeks to clean that shithole.
It was really a dump.
Yeah. I don't want to badmouth the previous owners, but it's not like they kept it very clean at all.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why they're out, right?
But it took us 2 weeks to clean every bit of equipment inside and out, and then 2 professional cleans, and then hood cleans as well. So 2 professional.
Shit.
Yeah, just to get it to the standard where I was happy to be in there.
If you don't mind me asking, did you have to get investors for this?
No.
You just self-funded the whole fucking thing? You've been saving up for all of these years for that?
We've been looking for a while for a second place. And it's always been like the deal didn't work out or something fell through or whatever it is, and this one just kept going. And we got a good deal from the landlord. We're not like a good deal, so because I don't think anyone wanted to go in there for a while, so he was kind of desperate at one stage. So we were fortunate, but we kind of put it put everything into it.
Yeah, man. That's scary.
Yeah. So Common Law was the same, and we've been open. Common Law's been open 8 years. So
yeah, for sure.
We've been putting stuff aside.
Did you negotiate in like free rent for construction?
Oh yeah,
you need that.
If you don't do that, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our timeline, we were hoping for more free time, but
it is what it is. What'd you get? 4, 3?
In the end, we got 6 months in total. In the end, we got like 6 weeks left. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all kind of what you need to do. It's like, I mean, I remember with Hoboken, with O'Bagel, we gutted the whole space. My naive confidence is what helped me because there's no way I would have taken that on before. And it took a year to open that fucking thing up. Yeah. It was a dump. Yeah. It was a dump. And we paid dead rent for like 6 months. Yeah. Almost killed us. It was bad.
Yeah, we made sure that our renovation was only, because it was an existing restaurant, we made sure our renovation was just to make it look pretty.
Yeah.
We didn't really touch much in the kitchen. We just had to maintain.
That was a huge savings, though, getting second gen. It's like getting a second gen kitchen is
and that
huge.
Kitchen wasn't that bad. Like they had only just replaced all the equipment a year before those guys left.
How big is the hood there?
There's 3 hoods.
No way.
It's huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's a difference. So Common Law's hood system is conditioned. Mm-hmm. So it pulls in conditioned air, so it's nice, maybe 75 in the depths of summer. Mm-hmm. This pulls straight outside air.
Oh, yeah.
The kitchen is hot as
Yeah, I bet. That's what O'Bagel is, man. I've spent way too much. I just spent another $15,000 just to put in more AC units in my fucking shop. Yeah. And I'm like a little 1,100 square foot bagel store.
Yeah, it will get hot for him, without a doubt. But
that's the saying, right? You can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen.
It's only a couple of months, and then that's it.
Yeah, dude, it is what it is. Yeah. It gives you it's battle wounds.
Yeah, Australia is like half the year is hot as hell.
In Australia, what makes Australia such the cafe capital? Like, why are the cafes just so electric? And it seems like I'm from outside looking in. What about Australia is different than America with their cafes?
It's just it's our lifestyle. So I think 3/4 of the entire population are on the coast. Yeah. And on the east coast as well. And 3/4 of our year is actually very nice to be outside. So,
yes.
Our winter months are July, August, realistically, and it's not even that cold. So it's maybe, I think we get down to daytime temps of 12, 15 Celsius.
Yeah, which is like 50, 60 degrees.
Yeah, so that's winter. So, you can get up still early in the morning and, go down. But all the cafes open about 6, and they're done by, most of the time they're done by 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. But it is that, it's a beach culture. Everyone's out and about. I think we spend more money on coffee than most places in the entire world. Yeah. Which doesn't surprise me. Because everyone's just caffeined up.
Yeah, and everyone's on Australia's just filled with adrenaline, needed people.
Yeah, so when I used to go down, because where I used to live as a kid, we were only just around the corner from the beach. So I used to go get coffee quickly. I used to just take, and our cash is plastic, so it's literally like you can stick it in your wetsuit, and it wouldn't deteriorate.
You can't even rip it too?
You can't rip it.
Yeah, you can or you can't, right? Yeah.
It's all color coordinated as well. So, like, when you're had a few drinks, I was going to say, when you're drunk as shit, you can pull out and you don't even have to look at the number. You can go, right, yellow is this. Yeah. Like, orange is 20, blue is 10, pink is 5. I think 50 is yellow and 100 is green. So that's how you.
I like that, man.
And it's all plastic.
And it's all like, and the cafes aren't just like coffee, right? I feel like a lot of the cafes in Hoboken or New Jersey are coffee houses. Yeah. Like the cafe culture is just different in Australia. It's like you're sitting down. It's more of a dining experience. It's like a restaurant during the day.
Yeah, you like Bluestone. I know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of Australian.
Yeah,
it is. I know it's owned by Australians.
Yeah, at scale. So obviously they they're keeping a super fucking tight menu so they can scale it.
But that's pretty much what it is. Our menus in Australia are not big, so you may only have like 8 or 9 things. That's it. And then a lot of it might be already like yogurts and granola and obviously avocado on toast version, and then you'd have like 1 or 2 sandwiches. But realistically, it's just quick. You know what I mean? Like people come in, they either have their breakfast and then their coffee, and then they're off for a walk, and then they go out before they even go to work. So,
have you ever been tempted to get into the fast casual game? Because obviously, it's just like sometimes just like it's just like. Have you been tempted? Because obviously, you're such a seasoned chef, you're on a high level. Doing something as basic as like a fried chicken concept, you could do it like in your sleep if you wanted to, right? Has there ever been tempted to do QSRs or not at all?
I haven't really thought about it. Like, it's not something that it's not really something I've thought about. Obviously, I'm always like, oh, that, I could do that.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I have really thought about. If someone comes up to me and says, yeah, this is what I want to do, I'd love to have you on board as like as the chef or whatever it is. Yeah, I could do it, but like, I don't think I would I don't know if I would put my money towards it yet. I'm not knowledgeable in it. I can do the food. That's pretty much what I can do. But if someone came up to me and said, yeah, this is what I'm looking at, no problem. I could do the recipes.
What is your goal?
There's 2 goals. One, my ego. So my next restaurant, would be in New York. And that's purely to go after a star. Just for my ego.
Yeah.
Highly doubt that's going to happen.
Why not?
I can't do this. The level of stress that would be. Bird's bad enough with common lot, being a BYO and this kind of shit. I just don't. And with the kids, I just don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
Unless I move closer.
Yeah.
And then the second goal, look, I'd like to expand. I think the concept will work in multiple places. Ideally, I'd like something closer to me, like in Morristown as well.
It's a good market too.
Because unfortunately, there's not a lot in that area. So yeah, there is still expansion. I don't know much about the South Jersey, so I don't know if I'd be in that area. I quite like the markets that I know.
Yes.
But expansion. 1, 2 more. Maybe consulting, helping with other people. With menu development and whatever else. Because I think what we do at Common Lot really well is generate the next generation of chefs. Like our training abilities and what we produce and the chefs that we produce are going to be very good in the coming years. Obviously they need to spread their wings, and I'd like to try and keep them under our group. Yeah. Because we put all the effort in, but it's already showing now with people. The 2 guys that run my kitchens now are all used to work with me at the beginning at 2016.
Wow!
So they've all come back. They've all done full circle, and now they're really kind of showcasing what they can do, and because they've had experience elsewhere. And then we've got a couple other chefs that just left. One's running a cafe, but doing really, really well with it. And yeah, it is that kind of like we create loyal staff. So if we have another concept, I reach out to those guys first and say, this is what's going on. You guys, would you be interested? So,
what is the bird concept? Because you're saying it can scale. Not scale, but it could open up 2, 3 locations. What is Bird?
Bird is is a casual. It's our version of casual. So it is elevated no matter how you see it. The interior that we've created is slightly elevated, but I look at it from like a where something like where Nadine and I would like to eat out at. Something light, bright, fresh. It's got a little bit for everyone. It's not a massive menu, but it can be transported, to multiple places if need be, because it's big enough that it's big enough in terms of menu wise that it will, it serves people. Some people will see it as it's still too small, the menu, but realistically, coming from restaurants where in Australia where we only got like 8 choices. Ours is big.
Who thinks it's too, like, why people say that?
People think, the menu's very limited. It's like, yeah, but you're used to like...
Yeah, like a Cheesecake Factory.
Everything.
And also, if anything, for me, I hate when I see 2 pages, 3 pages, because I'm like, there's no way they're executing this at a high level.
Yeah.
If I'm seeing raviolis on a menu and it has 3 pages, I know they're not doing it from scratch.
And some of those places that do sushi and then pizza and then burgers and then salads, and you just know that half that stuff is not fresh. Like I wouldn't touch it.
I agree with that.
Because you just know that the volume of food that they would need to go through to make sure it is brought in nearly every other day or fresh, it's never going to happen.
I feel like your spot is where it's a fine dining restaurant that kids are welcome to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
our kids, my kids are already annoying me about like when they can come in and test their menu because they help write the menu.
Oh, it's awesome.
To what they wanted. But yeah, it's... we wanted somewhere like for Nadine and I to go out with the kids early, get there at 5, get out by 6:30, and then the rest of the adults can come in after that.
It's funny you say that because that time, it's so true, man.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like if you go out to dinner or anything past 6:30, you're with the kids, it just gets all messed up. The sleep schedule, the routine. Yeah. Next thing you know, you're up. It's like such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I have 2 kids under 2 right now.
Oof.
Yeah, man. I have a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old. It's a whole nother grind.
Yeah.
How are you balancing all of, like, now you have common law, you're opening up Bird. What's like your day-to-day routine? How are you structuring your day-to-day?
The last 3 weeks, the kids have been...
Not even just with the kids. I'm saying with you professionally, as a father, as a husband, as a leader.
It's been difficult. We've relied on family to help after you watch the kids and shit. So it's been difficult, but I've been very fortunate. The people that run, the people that are in Common Lot every day at the moment, I've been very fortunate that they've been able to just look after it. Like that's it. They've just been very. I haven't really had to worry about it or anything like that. But like the rest of it, it's been Bird's been the focus for the last 3 weeks. So I've been there every day. And again, trust my guys at Common Lot to make sure they're doing it, day in and day out. And then, with the kids, it's been, trying to make time in the mornings on the weekend. Like, right, we'll go spend time. But it's been hard on them for the last 3 weeks because it has been out of the normal.
For sure.
Yeah, but as it kind of gets settled down a bit, there will be more structure.
Yeah, you'll create like a family day, at least once a week or something like that.
Yeah, but even so, it will be a little bit more structure. I think because for the kids there hasn't been any structure for them. It has been a bit all over the shop.
Yeah.
I feel bad for them, but it's 3 weeks. They'll get over it.
Yeah. So you have to do what you have to do to put them in a better position as they get older.
Yeah.
You're doing it for them.
Yeah. So in time they're on they're at that awkward age where they want to see us, but like, our world revolves around mainly evenings. So, that's the hardest thing. So at least one of us is home generally. So like tonight I'm either at Bird or Common Lot tonight, and then tomorrow night Nadine is at Bird and I'm at home with the kids.
How about being like, props to you for... Obviously, I hear you reference your wife often because she's your business partner, she's your wife, she's your partner, and everything. How do you separate? Because I'm in a relation, I'm in the business with my sisters, my best friends. How do you separate business and the emotional side of the relationship? Is it difficult? Like, how do you do that?
I guess we've always just said from day one, like, business is business. Once we leave the business, that's it. It's back to husband and wife and whatever else. But in the restaurant, I remember calling her babe a couple of times in service, and then she comes around the corner and says, "Don't ever fucking call me babe in the restaurant." I went, "Oh, yes, Nadine, sorry." Yeah. And I just took it for granted. I took that for granted. I was like, "Yep." Like, it's in that aspect, I'm not giving her the respect because I would lay into her, in the restaurant. If the front of house, screwed up. Yeah, Common Lot, I would lay into her as a chef, and then she would do the same thing. But when it was that day when she said, "Don't ever call me babe in the restaurant," I was like, "Yep, got it." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, and even the kitchen team were like, holy crap. And I just said, business is business. I remember yelling at my mum in the restaurant because she came down and she was helping one day or whatever it is, but she came down and gave it to me a little bit in the kitchen, and I screamed, and I just basically sent it as a, don't you ever fucking talk to me like that in my restaurant. And I just said, I'm not in this position.
Yeah.
So, I said, you're helping. And I said, that's it. I said, don't ever speak to me like that. And then, like, the other chefs were just like, we can't speak to your mum like that. So I was like, she's business. We got her in. She's helping us out, but she's employed. That's it. I said, outside of this, would I ever speak to my mum like that? No fucking way. I'd get my ass kicked. She would bring back probably the wooden spoon or whatever. But we've learnt very quick. There's a clear line between work and home life. Once we leave work, then it is that's it. Do we have disputes at home about stuff? Yeah, of course, but about work. But yeah, that's normal. But we try to say, right, the day is off.
Let's just even if it comes back on even if the top of conversations, the restaurants talked about like off hours, it's like, all right, we'll talk about this later.
Yeah, I will absolutely destroy a chef if they fucked up or whatever it is in the restaurant. I'll literally ream them and all this kind of shit. I will go nuts. But at the end of that, like hissy fit that I threw, it's done. I don't bring it up. I don't bring it out again. I don't hold it over their heads. I don't do anything. Once that is done, once I've needed to say what I say, that's it. It's done. And I remember there's actually a review in Yelp about it, like me swearing at the staff, but they took the wrong plate to the wrong table. Someone who had an allergy had peanuts in their dish, and they weren't listening. They weren't paying attention. They took that dish to the person who had an allergy. Now, who knows if they were anaphylactic, they'd be dead in my restaurant. So yeah, was it warranted from my side? Yeah, 100%. Because it allergies and that shit is life threatening. And the customer left a review saying, how dare he speaks to his staff like that, blah blah blah. And I was like, I'd never reply to reviews, but I was like, you have no idea what's going on. It's not often I ever get to that level. But at the end of it, I spoke to the staff member involved, and I said, what was said is said. Let's move on. We're done. Apologies for in terms of using the language that I chose, but it's life threatening.
Yeah.
So
you're like one of those. You're like Bill Belichick as a coach, man. I don't know if you watch football, but I feel like it's just like you got to be super disciplined. It's it's tough love.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Like you just try to just.
But business is business.
Yeah.
It comes down to it. I don't. It's an open kitchen. That's life.
Yeah, man.
You don't like swearing, don't sit right next to us. Go upstairs or whatever. I don't think I've ever been back, but whatever.
Yeah. What are you hoping? If we talked this time next year, what are you hoping that Bird is at? Like, what are the goals of Bird? What does success look like in a year from now for Bird?
The same staff.
That's awesome.
I'd like to have the staff. We're proud at Common Lot that our turnover is low, and I'd like to have Bird at the same level. I think that, and I'd like to see repeat customers. Obviously introduce new customers to the restaurant, but repeat customers so we get to know them. But I think success is driven by your staff. If they're happy, they stay with you. Turnover's low. That's a sign of success.
I'm surprised you're saying the turnover, because of just everything that we're talking about. To me, you sound like relatively scary in the kitchen, but then on the opposite side, the turnover rate is super low. It's just that it's just like when it's game time, high levels, and then when service is down, it's like built back up.
It's constructive. The idea that I've always instilled in the restaurant is we want to set the standard, and then that's it. We have a standard that we must adhere to, and when service is on, service is on. You know, that's it. Everyone's focused. There's no bullshit. It's just get to it. I admit that I sometimes will bullshit in the kitchen in the middle of service, and that's, you know, just because I'm either bored or, you know, I've got other things on my mind. But like, generally speaking, when service hits, it's on. We stop listening to music. Everyone's focused, and then if, you know, they get their job done. You know, it's good. You know, when a service is smooth and it's just everyone knows their job, it's just such a buzz. When it goes south, it goes south real quick. So you know, but it's generally constructive. You know, I'll always, as I've matured now at Common Law, I've also made sure that I make it constructive. So I'll always end it with a positive. So if I absolutely tear someone to pieces, I'll always end up at the end of the night saying, right, this was really good. You guys, you did this really well. You did this. You know what you fucked up on. Let's just not repeat it. Yeah, that's it. You know, I don't harp on about it. You know, there's nothing. I don't make it a problem the next day. You know, the only thing is, right, you know, what did we learn yesterday? Cool. Let's just not repeat that shit. So, yeah. Am I strict? Yes, 100%. You know, some people don't like my style, so be it. But
that's not the kitchen for them. But if they want to grow and they want to know what a high-level standard is, they're going to enjoy it. They're going to thrive in that environment.
Will they get better when they leave? Yes. Is my goal even at Common Law and at Bird is to basically give them the opportunity to open any door they want in the state. That's my goal.
That's sick, man.
You know, and so if they're like, you know, I want to go to, you know, I've been offered this sous chef role or whatever it is at some restaurant, and I'm like, go, do it, you know. But what we've instilled in you, you better take it to that next restaurant. You better show what you've learned here.
What the standard is at Common Law and Bird.
You take what you've learned here, you take it there. And then you show them what the standards should be. Because there's so many restaurants that I've been into and I've looked at, and I'm like, what the? And they're like, what is this shithole? Like, not clean, not organized, you know, just complete disaster in terms of detail and organization and all this kind of shit. I'm still like, my guys now are just the ones that have gone off and done their own thing. They're like, they just said, you know, they've got organization, they've got the detail of the food and all this kind of, and that, you know, they said, yeah, was it 2-3 years working for you hard? Yes, but this is much easier.
This is the standard.
Yeah. So that's my goal as an owner.
Oh shit, man!
In that sense,
we have a conclusion tradition to end the podcast with like a more of a fun section. So it's called the happy hour. What is your favorite meal of the day?
Anything that's not cooked by me. That's a hard. Like my favorite meal?
Yep. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Oh.
Or dessert.
Not dessert. Shit, that's a good one. I still like dinner. Mm-hmm. I think dinner's always nice.
And what's your last meal for dinner? Your last dish?
Ever?
Yeah. It's like, damn, I'm gonna have this. This is my last fucking meal.
Shit. There's a few. There's a couple, but I would say probably Mum's roast pork or something.
Nice.
Yeah. I just think that even though I tend to help her now,
yeah,
help myself.
Yeah, you can't. There's certain parts of it just to bring up the flavor profile that much more.
Yeah, like use salt.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like it's hard. Like at the moment, with the kids being at this age, you know, outside eating is great.
Yeah.
You know, because they've just come off playing or whatever it is. So just that any meal with them is nice at the moment.
That's awesome. Man, yeah.
But yeah, I would say Mum's roast pork.
Who inspires you in your cooking? Are you inspired by any other chefs?
Oh, loads. Yeah, I would say loads. There's a lot of it's a mix because everyone has their own style. So
yeah.
I you know, through Instagram or it is, I follow a couple. Mm-hmm. And I just like their style. Some of the chefs I've worked for, everyone has their pros and cons. You know what I there are some styles of food that I like, but I don't like the way that they
Portray
run the
it.
kitchen. You know, they might be all smiles on the outside, but like when you're actually working for them, they're pricks. So there's no one chef that I'm like, oh, you know, I love. There are a couple of restaurants that are on my bucket list of like places to attend, to go to, but like realistically, there's no one.
Is there any restaurants in Jersey that you're like, they're doing it? They're hitting the standard?
Commonwealth's pretty good. It's hard because I'm not. It's very Italian here. I'm just not like. For me, I'm into it, but I make it at home.
Yeah.
So you know, I know Ryan DePerso when he had Fushino, his stuff was pretty good. You know, but it's hard because I don't really know. I don't really go out in Jersey much. I've gone into the city a bit.
Yeah, sure. So how about the city? Is there any restaurants that, you know, you're like...
Yeah. In the last couple of years, I haven't gone out, to be honest.
Yeah, fair, dude.
Kids, you know, I haven't found a babysitter, the kids, you know. But if Nadine and I do go out, it's generally... It's to like, we'll go to Southeast Asian places.
Yeah, you love Asian, huh?
Australia is just very Southeast Asian.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get around here.
Yeah.
You know, it is hard to get around here. So it is, you know, like Chinese Tuxedo in New York. It's run by an Australian chef. So, you know, it's kind of upscale Southeast Asian, I guess. It's very good. But yeah, it's a mix. Like we have our... We're kind of fortunate because we travel to Austria once a year to go see family, so we get European influences that when we're over there. But we rarely get Southeast Asian around us, so we'll source out that kind of stuff in New York. The problem with New York is that because it's massive and there's so many different restaurants to choose from, it's really hard to go, shit, I'll go back to that one. You know,
yeah.
You're just like, I want to try this one.
Of course.
So I don't think we've ever hit the same restaurant twice. Because there are so many different...
There's so many. Plus, you're not going out that often, and you want to experience new things.
Yeah,
and you want to be inspired by different cuisines as well.
Yeah, and see what other chefs are doing. So, that, you know, if I lived in the city, yeah, I probably would have favorites.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I lived, you know, if there was stuff around us and there was, you know, I kind of go back. But realistically, there's so many options in the state that it's hard. It really has to be like, holy shit, like this is next level for us that we'd go back to.
What do you think's like the most overrated, like trendy thing that's happening right now in food? And you're like, well, I don't know why this is so why everyone loves this.
Oh shit, that's a interesting question. David Burke's, he's a good business person. I like his business model that he's doing, especially with the inside stuff that I know. But his bacon on the clothes hanger for like $30 or whatever it is, you're like, holy shit, it's just bacon. It's just a sliced piece of pork. And they're using butane. I'm like, that's not very nice. But yeah,
I love that. I love that, dude. That's fair. Thick cut bacon. I mean, I cook way too much bacon, and obviously I don't really eat much bacon, so I understand that.
Yeah, I just, you know, I don't. It's just a
thick slab of bacon, man. But it sells.
Put on the head clothes. He sells shitloads of it. I know. But it's just on a string. I mean, like, it's just theatrical. You know what I mean? You pull that theatrics behind, or whatever, you know, away, and it's It's someone blowtorch. It's like Salt Bay. You know, his shit. It's just theatrical. It's
his brand's dying, though.
Yeah, and so it should.
Yeah.
Overpriced.
And also built around one... I don't know if I think that model is super old school, like a restaurant being built around just one specific person.
Yeah.
Too aggressively. Like, you can't be having a portrait of yourself on the wall, dude. Like, you know? Like, you just can't do that. Or a statue of yourself.
There are some restaurants I've been in who have a picture of themselves. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. it's just like, I understand if there's like a collage of photos and it's you and your family or you and your team and you know what I mean? But like just you up there, I find it so pretentious.
Look, for me, even if I get 5 restaurants, I'm never going to be at the same restaurant. I'll probably, if I can get there once a week, type in, great. But like realistically, you are only as good as your team. So give credit where credit is due, and that is give it to your team. Like my CDCs and my sous chefs at both restaurants, my restaurant managers, they do a phenomenal job. And, we make sure that people know it. Because it is impossible for us to be there every day at our 2 locations in that sense. So it is, people, as you said, if they build around one person, it's
going to fall.
Yeah, like Jamie Oliver. His entire empire collapsed. 30 million pounds.
How?
He just took his business and expanded as fast as he could.
Yeah.
And
he was like he was the wealthiest chef in the world.
Yeah. And then, he wasn't overseeing the details of his business. And then that's what his whole empire collapsed literally overnight.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It is a fascinating story.
Was this recent?
Oh, this is a while ago. And he started to rebuild it and whatever.
Yeah. He was bigger than Ramsay himself.
Yeah, before that, yeah. But he just took his thing and just
blew it up.
So that's what Salt Bay, whatever it is,
doing the same thing. Because that's going to crumble like soon.
Yeah.
Salt Bay.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's inevitable.
He'll lose his America and world thing. He'll just end up in the Middle East still.
Yeah. Maybe Dubai, and that's about it.
Yeah, he'll have his restaurants in Dubai or places like
Morocco, Lebanon, something.
Yeah. Singapore, maybe. I don't even think Singapore would do it. Bangkok, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But yeah, apart from that, just, those restaurants, those empires that collapsed like that you just know that they were bought in by private equity and expanded, and then that's it.
What's the most impactful advice you've ever been given? Or a quote that you really always remind yourself about?
It doesn't. So it was actually recent. Mum actually sent it to me not that long ago, and it was actually pretty. It was pretty. Resilience can be taught. Resilience can be taught. But it was a message from the NVIDIA owner, the CEO, and basically saying that he was I think he was at Stanford or something like that, or Syracuse, one of those ones.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how he wishes pain and suffering to the students because they might be some of the best in their field, best grades. They're very fortunate. They managed to pay for their education. But when they get to the real world, they have zero resilience, and so you have to be taught in a younger age to build your resilience in business, and I totally agree with that. Like for me, my parents, I've been fortunate in my life without a doubt, but I was also taught from a young age that I obviously do my own, laundry, all this kind of shit, and it stems from that. But it also stems from when you go do your career, you work at the best places, and you work your ass off, heads down and just work. And I think that's what kind of built us in that aspect. So it's not so much a quote; it's just like how he talks about how some people are just given opportunities as opposed to earning it and working for it. So they come out of college and they're like expecting too much money, and they don't want to work for it, and they think work's too hard, and well, this is the real world. So I think there's even cooking shows are sometimes shit because they portray you're going to get famous, you're going to write all these books and whatever else, but you've actually never worked in a kitchen. and you've never worked in that aspect where you've had to kind of hustle, where you leave at 1 a.m. and you take a bus home to like from 2 hours away because that's where you can afford, and then you're back in at work at 6 a.m. 3 hours sleep, if that. So that's kind of, I think, the biggest part is there's a point in your career when you're as a chef and a restaurateur and like a front of house. If you want it as your career, you've got from your 20s to your 30s to work your ass off, and then after that, you've set your career up for success. Don't rush your career. Is the biggest one. And in those 10 years, that resilience is going to be built. And you'll have a much better understanding of how to manage, how to operate, how to kind of oversee, and how to build your career and move it forward. So yeah, like my 20s was just work.
Fucking resilience, putting the roots in.
Yeah.
And that's why you're going to be successful, man. And I appreciate you coming here and sitting down with us and talking and getting to know you. And I'm excited to try out Bird for sure, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's, next week, 7 days.
Let's go, bro.
So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you, Chef. I appreciate you, man.
Awesome.
Thanks
so much.